Hold on.
You can't leave. Minimize now.
Can't minimize.
Sorry, did join in. I guess the thing is, can you send it to the mail? If this is going to be tedious, we already past the level. Can you send it to the mail? Yeah. If this is like, oh, I've just seen it. You've seen it, okay.
Just arrange resolution.
Can you search? Can you just type out the definition? Is that all? Is that all? Who is the chair?
The chair.
Okay. Good morning, sir. We are sorry we are starting quite behind schedule. It was because the previous session ran into our time, but now we can start if you're ready, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, so we can start on your institution, sir.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Yeah, can you hear me well?
Yes, we can all hear you, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Unfortunately, I'm not able to be in Lagos because of some important official duties. I have to join virtually. But I believe that my co-chair, Mrs. Chemela, is present, who happens to be my wife. She's there with you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, so I don't know, I think we'll have 11 to 12:30. And I want to say I'm glad that all of us are seated to engage in this intellectual feast in this year's LSA. And I just pray that my network does not fail me. I was just working and NEPA just took their light in my office, but I hope my system to last. All the same, this panel we are co-chairing. It's based on reincarnation, rethinking religion and culture in global Africa. Of course, in just a minute, we know the African belief system. We know much about death and dying. And are you with me?
Yes, we are with you, sir.
Fine. So,
Not for it, you want to
so
join.
we are going to
You know how to join
have
you.
conversations on the basic issues relating to reincarnation and the views that people have in the 21st century as relates to African culture and religion in a global world. So I think this is what we need to engage in. And having been a regular participant in LSA, I would want to encourage all our participants to please get to their best, get to help us to engage into knowing what the trending issues on reincarnation. Of course, it's a burning issue as long as religion is concerned, whether it is traditional religion, whether it is Christian religion, whether it is Islamic, no matter the genre of religion, everybody needs to be involved and understand what reincarnation is and how that features in our African culture in a global world. So I think we need to take up. I don't know who are present. I mean the participants here. From my own end, I have the first paper should be coming from I think it's Amos Adekunle Adediran, Federal College of Education, whose paper centers on exploring cultural beliefs and traditional naming system and reincarnation among the Yoruba. So I don't know if Amos is on ground.
Yes, Amos is on ground.
Please, I would want Amos to please take the center stage. Let's I don't know how long the time you allotted to each presenter, please. Yeah, hello. Are you with me?
From the Federal College of Education, Abeokuta States. The title of my paper is Exploring Cultural Belief on Traditional Naming Ceremony. Exploring Cultural Belief on Traditional Naming System and Reincarnation towards sustaining traditional process of Yoruba people in Nigeria. Now, the Yoruba culture is what culture? One of the Nigerian most important ethnic groups, both on a rich tapestry of traditions, belief, and
sorry, I can hardly hear Amos.
Two generations. Central to the Yoruba ways of life is the intricate system of naming and the deeply ingrained in reincarnation, both of which play pivotal roles in sustaining the socialization of the Yoruba society. Like many other African societies, we have our different culture everywhere in the whole Africa. Now, Yoruba are not exception. Yoruba has their system of naming children, and that's tied to the system of reincarnation. Like, if you look at even in the Bible, we have what we call life after death. Yes, life after death can be likened to reincarnation. But I don't know. But Yoruba names ceremonies are elaborate. Yoruba naming ceremonies are elaborate and steeped in tradition and symbology. Each name bestowed upon a child carries layers of meaning, reflecting the circumstances of their birth, ancestral connection, and aspiration for their future. Through these names, the Yoruba people have found their ties to their ancestors and reinforce the continuity of their cultural heritage. Because of the continuity of the Yoruba culture in a particular society, now the naming system also they connect with their ancestral. That is why when anybody dies, now when the person is given birth to, you will see a symbolic nature in that child. That will tell you that the person has just come back again. That's the one who said, Baba today, Inyabo, Yetunde, Yewande. Yes, all this connect to the traditional naming system through the reincarnation system. The incarnation of the traditional naming system and the belief in reincarnation offers a profound insight into the traditional process, which within the Yoruba society, names are not mere labels. They are imbued with spiritual significance and serve as condition for transmitting cultural values and identity. It serves as an identity to the Yoruba culture. Now, you should have an identity. Like deciding that most of us in Africa, we have this touch of our names, of our culture. That's why many of us now start bearing some funny names, destiny, divine, such that, which is not our culture. Yes. So let's go to the concept of cultural belief. Cultural beliefs are foundational element of identity, social cohesion within society. In the context of Yoruba people of Nigeria, cultural beliefs permeate every aspect of life, influencing practices, rituals, and social interaction. The Yoruba maintain a deep connection to their heritage, ancestors, and spiritual traditions, contributing to the resilience and continuity of their cultural identity. Now let's look at concept of traditional naming system. Traditional naming system refers to a cultural practice within a society or community where individuals are given names based on established customs, rituals, and cultural belief. According to Oyebade 2017, traditional naming system often involves elaborate ceremonies or rituals to mark the naming of a newborn child and include considerations such as familiar lineage, ancestral connection, cultural symbolism, and spiritual significance. In traditional naming system, names are not randomly chosen, but are selected with careful consideration of various factors, including the circumstances surrounding the childbirth, the family's cultural heritage, and the desired quality or aspiration for the child future. Now, in the Yoruba naming system, they don't just name the child just like that. The naming comes with a particular symbolism, a particular significance that it's depicts the naming system of that child. So which goes with ritual and other traditional practices in the Yoruba culture. The Yoruba traditional naming system is a complex and deeply meaningful practice that reflects the cultural heritage, belief, and aspiration of the Yoruba people. Naming ceremonies are significant events in Yoruba culture, marking the introduction of a newborn into the community. These ceremonies often take place to week or 2 weeks after birth and are attended by family members, friends, and community elders. The significance of names extend beyond mere identification. They serve as a means of affirming one's cultural identity and ancestral lineage. Yoruba names often reflect the circumstances of the child's birth, such as Oluwafemi, meaning God's love me, or Ayomide, meaning my joy has arrived. Additionally, names may honor ancestors or deities, thereby establishing a spiritual connection and involving their blessing and protection. You see that? So most of the names are being tied to ancestral connection. That's why they say Iyabode, Yetunde, Babatunde. Now it depicts the ancestral connection. Then at times names also depict a particular event that might have taken place in the family. Yes. Now let's go to reincarnation. Reincarnation, also known as rebirth or transmigration, is the philosophical or religious concept that the non-physical essence of a living being begins a new life in a different physical form or body after biological death. In most belief involving reincarnation, the soul of a human being is immortal and does not disperse after the physical body has perished. Upon death, the soul merely becomes transmigrated into a newborn baby or an animal to fulfill its immortality. The term transmigration means the passing of the soul from one body to another after death. Now, just about a week ago, my uncle was telling me that in Ghana, we have reincarnation also in Ghana, because I was born in Ghana. Reincarnation also takes place in Ghana. He said there was somebody was born and there was a mark in the woman's leg. Now, when the woman died, after some time, they gave birth to that baby. In fact, that baby now carried the mark. The mark was was right in the level that means that shows the incarnation. The person has just come back in a new form to continue the visualization process in that cultural belief in that sense. Reincarnation is deeply ingrained in Yoruba cosmology, reflecting a worldview that emphasizing the cyclical nature of existence and the interconnectedness of all living beings. Central to the Yoruba concept of incarnation is the belief in the immortality of the soul, which is thought to undergo multiple cycles of birth, death, and rebirth. According to Yoruba belief, the soul is eternal and continues its journey through various life forms, guided by the thoughts and action of its previous incarnations. The belief in incarnation also plays a significant role in shaping the social structures and relationship within Yoruba society. It fosters a sense of continuity and interconnectedness among family members, as individuals are seen as part of a larger cosmic tapestry of existence. Additionally, reincarnation reinforces notion of accountability and responsibility, as individuals are believed to be accountable for their action in both this life and the next. Now, why do you that if you do good, when you die and you come back again, people will see you as a good person. But if you do bad before your death and you come back again, they will see you as a bad person. So, which means in reincarnation, it's very, very symbolic in Yoruba culture, and they hold tight to it. However, belief in incarnation are deeply intertwined with the fabric of Yoruba culture, influencing perception of identity, spirituality, and social dynamic. One way in which naming and reincarnation intersect is through the selection of names that reflect belief about past lives or ancestral connection. Yoruba beliefs are often carry meaning that invoke spiritual themes or qualities associated with past incarnation. Now, for example, a child might be named Babatunde, meaning father has returned, symbolizing the incarnation of a deceased ancestor. This practice reinforces the belief that individuals are linked to their ancestors through a continuum of existence, with each new life representing a continuation of the family lineage. Individuals are seen as stewards of their names, tasked with upholding the honor and reputation of their ancestors through virtuous action and achievement. In essence, the intersection of naming and incarnation in Yoruba culture underscore the interconnectedness of human identity, family lineage, and spiritual destiny. Through naming ritual, storytelling, and divination practices, Yoruba people, they have found their beliefs about the sacred nature of existence and the enduring legacy of their ancestors. Now, how do we now sustain our socialization process through naming and reincarnation? Like I've told you, if a child is being given back to, and you want to know whether the child is really connected with the family, that will say today, in that day, today, one day, which means cannot forget it. That's why I dance. I used to be surprised when some people come born again. They said we have changed our name. When they said maybe Ogude, they said Oluwadele. What is that? Which means the person has disconnected the word, the family lineage. For life. That's what we need. Now we should always be proud of wherever we come from. Like sometimes, some years back, during the I was in Thailand. In Thailand, anytime the students close from the school hour, they go to the shrine to listen to the culture of their ancestors. And that's what they meant. And they learn it through their language, not English language that we speak here. No, they use their Thailand language to teach them. Yeah. So now, naming ceremony serves as a foundational ritual that facilitates tradition by welcoming newborn into the community, found their cultural identity. The care version of it often gives ritual establish a sense of what belonging and continuity with the family and the other community. Now let me go to the traditional system and belief in reincarnation are integral components of human culture, serving as pillar that sustains socialization process and preserve cultural identity within the community. However, the sustainability of socialization through naming and reincarnation reflects the resilience and of human culture. By embracing tradition, living and communities, ensuring and the part of ancestral
Hold on. USB.
The first speaker is done with their presentation. We can go on now.
All right. Thank you very much, Amos Adekunle, for your presentation. But very unfortunately, I was unable to follow about the first 8-9 minutes because I was having network challenges here. Yeah, I was, but I think I have a stronger network now connected to the university Wi-Fi. All right, thank you very much. You must have listened to Amos, make his presentation, and we would likely have to get.
I don't know if you can hear us, sir, but you have muted, sir. Kindly unmute. We can't hear you if you can hear us.
All right, sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, sir.
All right, fine. So I said I got some part of his presentation, but the last part I understood what he said, and because all of you were there, and I believe my co-chair is also there, maybe she could help to regulate the content and the comments from people within the hall, so that I can follow up from here.
Okay.
So we'll just get some comments, suggestions, and then opinions on the paper that was just presented.
So I think we should go on with other presentations. Then later we'll get on with the comments and questions.
Oh, all right. Thank you for bringing me up to speed. Okay, fine. The next one we have there is the culture of corpse exchange among the Otuba people of Benue by Abutu Beti and Abutu Beti Abashima, National Open University of Nigeria, and Abutu Freeman Gabriel Adikoyi, Admiralty University of Nigeria. Of course, we can just move on with his presentation. Is on ground. Thank you.
He's not on ground.
Is he on ground?
No.
Is he joining us virtually?
No, there's no sign.
Yes.
Okay. All right. It's okay. I think the next is by Immaculata Nena Enwo Irem of Alex Ekweme University. Her paper is on death, burial rights, and reincarnation of women among the Abakaliki Igbo, Southeast Nigeria. If she's on ground, please, she could.
Yes, I'm here. I'm online. Right. I'm not on ground. I'm here.
Oh, all right. Okay. All right, Doc, I can see you.
Okay, people can hear me.
Please. Yes.
Oh, good to see you too.
Yes.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good morning. I'm Dr. Nnenna Enweirem, joining from Alaesekweme Federal University, Ndufalike, Ebonyi State. And I'm glad to be here. It's my first time, and I hope to continue. My work is on death, burial rights, and reincarnation of women among the Abakaleke Southeast. I would like to share my slide if you guys don't mind. So please let me share my slides. Okay. Okay. I hope we are together. Hello?
Yes, yes, we are together, ma'am.
Okay then, thank you. So to the next slide, that's my topic. Death, burial rights, and reincarnation of women among the Abakaleke Igbo, Southeast Nigeria. Like I said, I'm Dr. Enweirem. IN stands for Immaculate Nnenna from the Department of History and Strategic Studies, Alaesekweme Federal University. Let's see the next slide. You can see the next slide. You can see how life exists. You can see the icon here, rest in peace. To the Abakaleke people, they believe it's where life starts, and then it's in a cycle. You can see the little baby is being born, reincarnated, as assumed or believed by them. You see the process. You see the process continues. Adolescent, matured woman, an aged woman, and she goes back to come back. That is what the paper is all about. Let's see the next slide. That's my abstract. From here, I looked at death of women and their burial. This work, from my field work, we discover that there is a second burial. After the normal burial, which is in 3 phases, there is another burial. And this other burial is what guarantees a reincarnation, both for men and women. But there's something about the woman's burial. And that is what this work is all about. That is what this work is interested in. There's an aspect of this other burial that influences the coming back as a reincarnation of a woman more than that of a man. So there is also, aside people living, aging, dying, being honored, buried, and coming back, there's also another phenomenon called the Ogbanje. This one is a repeater child. People like Achebe call them wicked children because they come and go and come and go. The whole essence, according to my interview here, is that they come to torment the parents, possibly because of what they did not do well while the woman was alive. It's basically women, it's basically girls. And how do we know this? There are some signs. There are behavioral marks, there are birth marks, resemblance, and sometimes when the child starts talking, you can say things that will automatically shows someone else is talking. Then there are oracles to consult to prove that actually the people's suspicion is right. In this work, I used qualitative analysis was adopted, and primary sources, majorly oral interview was used. I went to the field Aside being a participant observer, I went to the field and interviewed some people and watched them also do the burials. You can see the next slide, see how life goes. You see a higher self-soul spark. The people here believe that you can walk yourself. You can see divine controlling the whole universe. They believe in divine, but they also believe in their own personal chi. They believe in a guardian angel. You can see arc of descent is coming down. It's coming down. They believe in a guardian angel. You can see the spirit that guide them. It guide their utterances, meaning that people could wish to reincarnate into a different gender. You can say it, and your chick can hear it. And possibly, most men had wished to reincarnate into a woman, possibly because of hardship, responsibilities, poverty, and they see women enjoying marrying a rich man. From my interview, I saw these things. So you can see something like here, personal karma. These are things that could hinder somebody from reincarnating early or reincarnating as the person is supposed to. It continues to also group karma. A whole village can commit an atrocity and it will work against other people. That is what they call group karma. And then you are giving birth, you're coming into a family, you're entering into a culture group with all these things. How does it affect your reincarnation? So we can go ahead. You see my introduction. Here, there are phases. We talked about phases that are connected with death. Here, rituals and ascendancy, and Abakaleke, like so many other pre-Christian Igbo societies, they still believe that there are certain deaths a man or a woman, as in this case, will die. That person will not reincarnate. And that there are some people that cannot reincarnate. Because there are different types of death. Then we will continue. It's still there. How is the corpse handled? They believe that the way a corpse is handled is also affects her reincarnation. In this case, when a woman is not treated well in her husband's place, at death, her premarital family could demand for her corpse. And the implication is that when these her husband people could not negotiate well, as the case may be, her family may take her to go and bury her in her premarital family. And you know what this means? It means that nobody in this place, her children and their children, nobody progresses because she was not accorded a befitting burial. And because her family, the premarital family, wants to punish these other people, they will insist on carrying her. Let's check the next slide. Here, okay, it's still talking about how the family exists and assuming the guardian. It talks about the reincarnation and the reincarnate souls. How do they work here? Like I have said, there's something I want to bring out here. That is, it's still people like other scholars, Onwa Jiogu, Nkiruka, Chinua Achebe, and the rest of them had looked at, even Eurocentric writers, they also looked at reincarnation in the general Igbo setting. But I discovered that unlike what is obtainable in other Igbo, part of Igbo land, it is not here, where people name their children according to, even our first presenter said it, Babatunde or something like that. They named him and said, my father has come. Over it doesn't matter. but they will go and check the spirit that had reincarnated. It doesn't follow that the father had reincarnated, because a woman who was named a man can reincarnate into a man. From my findings here, I discovered that there are 3 clans that make up the Abakaliki area, and they are the Ezas, the Izis, and the Ikwos. And among these 3 clans, there are varieties as I conducted my interviews. Basically, the Ezas, they don't bother. They can name anybody. They can name a man to a woman. Somebody can give birth to a man. He will name it after the mother. And the implications from my finding is that sometimes some of these ladies will not give birth because the spirit that is controlling her is that of a man until certain rituals has been performed. And if it is not done, when this soul dies, the person will reincarnate as a man. But among the other 2 clans, they discriminate in naming. They name a woman they name a lady for a woman's name, and they name their boy's name, or a man. So this issue okay there. So let us talk about death. How does this differ? When a woman dies, how is her burial done? A woman will die. We know death occasions sorrow and mourning like everywhere. But when a woman dies, it's always a problem. Because first of all, her family people will go and inform her premarital homes. And if they accept that the woman is dead, then they can now decide for the burial. The first burial could just be done, but the second burial, I am quite interested in this because the second burial of a woman, her tomb, that's her grave, is always larger than that of a man. Why? Because when she's going, all the cooking utensils, all her daughters, all the people that have been named after her, they will all bring different cooking utensils and food stuff. And her tomb is always in 2 layers. The first layer will accommodate all these things, and then the woman will be buried in the last layer. If this is not done as it is believed, there is no reincarnation for that woman, and there will be disaster for the family. I heard that the family will not progress until all this thing is done. That is the most interesting aspect of this. But when a man dies, they will just bury her. They also do second burial for men, but it is not as detailed as this. And therefore, an Abakaliki man is ready to part with his choices of land. You know, it's an agrarian community. They can sell their land. In fact, some of us have got a piece of land to build our house here because they were pressed to do one thing or the other, and they sold off their land because they must give that woman, their mother, or their wife, a befitting second burial, gathering all these things, aside the killing and eating of every other thing. Then, before my time goes up, there is this other repeater child, like I've said, the Ogbanje, but over here, some people, remember I said there are 3 clans. See, they don't really believe that Ogbanje could be classified as reincarnation. They don't. But the other 2 groups believes. Sometimes they believe it is their mother that was not well taken care of that is coming to punish them. So, and until the baby will keep coming, dying, until the parents will have the heart either to cut off the finger or to slice the baby or to rub her with charcoal, because normally it's always a woman, to rub her, all those things. And there are 2 types, but An Igbo man told me that there are three. One, there's one that will come to bring you shame. She will just be doing things that be bringing the family shame, is an ogbanje. There's one that will allow you to have anything. You will not make progress, even if you like, be a university lecturer. Before your salary will come, one thing has come, you spent that money. It's an ogbanje. There's another one that will just come, bring barrenness, because you give birth to her, she will die. But again, they believe that if you can have the courage to deal with her, she will not come again. That is the wicked child who continually goes into the womb and then gone. But normally they are all girls. I did not hear of seeing any case of an ogbanje man. So it's all about women. And then they believe, like
conclude now.
Sir, thank you. Let me go to my conclusion. And in my conclusion, I just say, look, as you can see, Ilowa, Inowa, Ibiuwa, differentiating the three clans. They all have different names for it, but two believe. The Eza and the Igbo have similar belief, but the Eza and the Igbo, the Izi and Igbo have a belief. The Eza, because they do not discriminate in naming their children. Are we together?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Nenna Ewira from Alex Ekweme University. Your paper is well taken. I was actually enjoying the direct interviews and the outcomes of your research. You see, the issue about this reincarnation is the fact that many people are interested in knowing the real things that happened in Africa, whether those things are still in place or whether they are no longer in existence, because of the different cultures we have among the African societies and the Western society. But I'm not going to begin to talk about that, since we're going to have some time for conversations on the papers that are presented. All right, are we with me? Please, a minute. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sorry, I had to attend to something so that my people in my office would reduce their noise. I'm sorry about that, please.
Okay, sir.
Are we together?
Yes,
Sure.
we are hearing you.
All right, the next paper is actually, I didn't look at that. It's actually my paper of shared memories and interesting narrative. Can you hear me?
Dr. Nina, please, can you stop sharing your screen?
Okay,
Yes, sharing your screen with us, yes. Thank you.
Okay, okay. Thank you, thank you.
All right. Right, so I can go ahead.
Yes, you can.
All right. Yeah, this is my paper, and then it says a shared memory and interesting narrative of my reincarnation. Well, partly why I had to put up this paper is because of the things I may call reality in the African religious belief system. You see, from the culture I have, that is the Igbo culture where I am from, I have certain belief systems that pertains to death. First of all, in most African societies, the Africans don't believe that people die, rather they believe that people transit from one generation to another. You move from the land of the living, you transit to the land of the dead, and then before anyone lives his life, there are certain beliefs that we have. Like the former person just said, the Dr. William just said, when people are born, everybody has what they call a chi, and it is that chi that follows you into the world. And that chi is either a benevolent God or a wicked God that follows you through. And the activities you have while you are in life qualifies you either to go into ancestorhood or to become a wicked spirit that hovers around the universe, as we understand from the book of Elizabeth, A History of Igbo People. In that book, she said many people who are not qualified as ancestors end up hovering on the different species in the world, hanging on trees and causing fear to individuals and to babies. And so that is not my motivation. What actually pushed me into doing this research is my personal experience as an individual. You know, over time since I was born, I've had experiences of physical, limitations, physical preventions from engaging in so many activities. Please give me 1 minute, please, I'll be back. All right, please, sorry about that. Can you hear me now? All right. Okay, sorry about that. So now, why did I choose to do this an interesting narrative of my reincarnation? You see, growing up, I've witnessed burials of uncles who were said to be of the same reincarnation with me, and practically I was stopped from witnessing the burial. In some cases, I was locked up in the room by my mom and, given special food, given water, and was not allowed to even see the corpse. Was not even allowed to see people that came for the burial. In some other cases, things will happen in the house. I'll be called upon to come and make a proclamation in the family, and that thing will cease. And so I began to ask questions. If actually this thing about reincarnation is real, or just that it's just some form of coincidence. And I began to query the issues about the African belief in death and in childbirth. One of my book chapters that was published in Germany, I said the monetization of death and burial ceremonials in Igbo land. And I was looking at comparing Western systems of death and the African systems. One thing is sure, when a man dies in Africa, when a man transits in Africa, he is given what they call a befitting burial, and then the family believes that if you fail to give the dead what we call befitting burial, we prevent them from transiting from the living to the dead. So many books I've read, including the works of Mbiti, who is a specialist in African traditional religion, they will tell you that preventing a man from having real burial, victim burial means that you do not love the person enough. So in the past, in pre-colonial times, many people had to, save up money to even keep money for their own burial before they died, so that their children will always have what it takes to give them that befitting burial which they deserve, so that they will be granted access into ancestorhood. And it's only when you are qualified to be an ancestor that you are allowed to come back to life. And so these things now made me, and I said, this is my story. I could share it as a person so that people will actually believe that, yes, what we say about reincarnation in Africa is real. The immediate past speaker said it. In some cases, you have body marks, you have marks, you have names, have marks on the back and all that. You have birth marks, which actually reflect the exact mark that happens in some societies. Yeah, of course, in so many places, people would consciously give the dead a mark on the hand, and when the person comes back, you will still see the same mark exactly as it was given on the person's body. Even at this, what has been a challenge is that because of Western civilization, because of certain religious inclinations from some other religions like Islam, like Christianity, Hinduism, many people are of the view that what we see in Africa as reincarnation, sometimes they see it as voodoo. that are not real. How can a man who has died come back and still be the same person? But there are human beings in Africa transit. If a man can change from being a human being and he will change into a goat or a cow and still come back to life, there is a strong belief among Africans that when you die, your system is that you drop the body on the floor and the spirit goes to become an ancestor. And it's only when you are given a feedback that you can now come back to the real world again as a person. You can come back as many times as you can. You can come back once, you can come back twice, so long as you have a benevolent chief that brings you to the world and takes you when you are gone. So in my own case, I was said to have been the reincarnation of the founder of my family. That is my son, and the man who was named after my family, Mbalisi. Now, this man was believed to be a very strong warrior who was strong. In fact, he was highly gifted to prophetic things. A lot of things will touch him before it happens, and he will always say that this will happen, and it happens. And so when the man died, my father gave birth, and they said, "Oh, your great grandfather or your grandfather has returned to you." And how did they find out? When I was giving birth, they mistakenly said that some other person has come back, at the hospital. And then they said the first 4 days after my birth, I did not drink water, I did not suck breast, I did not eat anything. I was always frowning and I was always crying. And so, and after that event, my father became worried. He was asking, what is wrong with my son? That he was lovely until my grandmother came there and said, some person has returned to them. And that thing continued. And then it was only when my grandfather, that's my father's father, came to the hospital, and he looked at my face and said, "Oh, my father has returned," though. That as if it was intentional. I started laughing. I started, I cheered up, and then they served me food and I ate and all that. That was how they revived. And the mistake of saying I was the reincarnation of another person, at that point, they began to now say, "Oh, this is the real Mbalisi that has returned." And I have followed through to all that's happened in burials, in meetings, in everything. In fact, most times in my family, if they're having a meeting and I appear, there's this kind of, if there are quarrels, there's this kind of, settlement that comes in. I say home balance is here, and everybody will just be calm. And so it has always been that type of thing. So when they are quarreling and I appear, whether it's a small boy as a grown-up person, there's always that calmness that enters the family. In fact, my father's grandfather's wives, each time I pass the house, nobody ever allowed me to pass without either giving me a gift. If you have udara, if you have mango, whatever you give to her in your hand, they will just pass it across. Say, "Oh, nana," And I grew up with that sense of being that great man as the founder of the family. And in all things, that try to maintain the peace of the family. So this thing continued until, having read some books in history, I'm trying to see, okay, let me challenge this custom. My brother, what I saw the last time when my uncle, died, I told myself I must see his corpse. All right, I said I was going to dare to see his corpse. And that was the point I realized that indeed reincarnation is real. I charged myself against my mother's advice, against my father's advice, against everybody's advice. You can't see his corpse. You can't see his corpse. You can't eat food that was meant for the burial. If you do it, you will die. My dear, I went out to the house and I said, okay, I must leave. My mom, I didn't know, said, okay, let's go inside the house and wait. I put the spare key of my room inside my pocket. I know she was going to lock my door from outside. So when she now locked the door, after the must have gone, I opened the door. Do you know what I experienced? That when I stepped out of my room to go to pass the compound and then go towards the gate, it was as if a cloud from nowhere covered my face. I couldn't see who was covering my face. The only thing I had was a voice: "Go back to your room. If you pass that gate, that's the end of you. You can't see him." I looked around. I didn't see anybody. I moved towards the gate again, and then that force pulled me back. I started the third time, and then before I knew it, I was on the floor. And I stood up. Nobody told me to go back to my room. I returned back to my room, and after that burial, I had to tell my mom my experience. Said, "This was what I saw." Said, "You actually came out. This is why you want to kill me. Why did you come out on that?" When elders gathered, I told them the same story. They said I was very lucky that if I had stepped out to see that man's corpse, that maybe I wouldn't have survived after that burial. And that thought now made I said, maybe I need to share this experience with scholars, just to portray the fact that as Africans, we should know how we, imbibe in other people's cultures. Not everything we see on the Western culture, Western culture is something that we should carry and put on ourselves. One of the mistakes people make in history these days is that people always want to use the activities of some pastorpreneurs, Pentecostalism, and the rest of them, and the things they tell you don't believe this. They want to make you believe that these things are ancient things that you should have forgotten about them. But one thing is certain: Africa has a culture, Africa has a religious belief system, Africa has a tradition. We cannot abandon those things and then say we are now Christians, we are this. Every religion has its own ways, and there is only one God. If it is that same God that created every religion, then there's no way He will not allow religions to thrive. What has been our problem in Africa for me is the fact that many of us see in the Bushman religions, the imported religions, that as ones that we can always follow. Recently, I was arguing with a friend while I was doing some research, and I said, why is it that in our own time, we want to jettison reincarnation? We want to jettison everything that has to do with African traditional religion. For instance, somebody travels from here to Israel to go and pray on the wall. When he returns after about 2 weeks, he is referred to as a JP. Somebody travels to Mecca to go and do a prayer on the black stone. When he returns to his country, his hometown, he's referred to as Alahaji. But when you leave the town to go to your village, to also pour libation on the stones in your village, people will call you a fetish person. You are a traditionalist. You are this. You are that. And I ask, all those people that were going to pray on stones and on black stones and on the wall, what is the difference between the wall in my village and the wall in Israel? There's no difference. That's what I argue as an African. And I say, so it is a strong belief that reincarnation is purely an African thing. Even in the Bible, they said Christ was the incarnate of God. That is, God came in the form of man through Christ. So why people always try to quarrel this, I want to also deposit that from my shared experience, from my own personal, from my lived experience, reincarnation is real. And most people who try to jettison or ignore it usually receive, the repercussions in one way or the other. Because in Igbo we say, not the day you cut the tree that the tree actually dries. Sometimes, like the former speaker said, when you commit some certain things against your tradition, against your land, it takes time for the land to actually visit you with karma, and over time that happens. So my experience is that what I've seen, which I dared and tried to challenge, showed me that indeed there is a strong belief system in African traditional religion, and that reincarnation, for a fact, is real. And this is what I believe, that is my passion, that is my lived experience, and this is the experience I want to share with everybody that's in this panel. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, sir. So we have one more person.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is oh, indeed. This is from my boy, Nnadozie Samuel Nwiwu. Yes, Nnadozie Samuel Nwiwu. His paper is on World Traditions, the historical influence of technology on reincarnation narratives in Africa youth culture. Nnadozie is of the University of Nnamdi University, Oka. He's actually my student. I'm sorry I didn't come present physically to be with you. Nnadozie, you can have the floor now. Is he around?
Oh. Okay, please. Come.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nnedozie Mmuyiwu, from the University of Nnamdi Azikiwe University. I'm here to discuss or present a paper titled Wire Transmissions: The Historical Influence of Technology on the Reincarnation Narratives in African Youth Culture. Specifically, this discussion would be discussed first: introduction, statements of the problem, objective of this study, the literature review, theoretical framework, methodology, discussions, and conclusion. So basically, without much ado, there is no need for much introduction here, as we all basically know what reincarnation is all about. The speakers who came before me have tried as much as possible to explain this concept. However, I personally wanted to address it from another point of view, from the perspective of the youth, which basically we are not discussing effectively. So we are not discussing effectively. So that there are questions we should ask. What is the understanding of the youth as regards this conception? What are, please stop distraction. Please, what are, there are questions that we must answer. What are the perception of these youth on reincarnation? What is the place of reincarnation on reincarnation narratives in this present generation? What we tag Gen Zs? What is the implication of technology, which or the proliferation of technology when it comes to the issues of reincarnation? In recent times, technology is, we have seen a great development. The third slide, we have seen a great development as regards here, there. While technology offers opportunities for preserving and evolving these beliefs, it also poses challenges such as misinformation, reinterpretation, cultural appropriation. So the reason or motivation behind this study is to actually inquire, how has social media, internet, affected the reincarnation narratives? What is its implication on the youth? How has it shaped the perception of youth as regards this fundamental topic or traditional topic, reincarnation? So that's basically the motivation of this study. So moving to the statement of the problem, this paper seeks to understand the role of technology in shaping the transmission and interpretation of reincarnation narratives among African youths. Yes, there are papers which has already inquired into the implication of digital platforms on cultural practices. However, there has been no much or major works which inquire into the specific roles of this technology in shaping, or specific roles of technologies like or media like YouTube, Instagram, in shaping the transmission and interpretation of reincarnation narratives. However, as I said earlier, there is need to understand the historical and socio-cultural context of these technologies, in shaping these reincarnation narratives. Hence, there is need for further investigation into the complex dynamics between technology, youth development, and the perpetuation of traditional beliefs in diverse African contexts. However, the objectives of this study, as I said, is to enable African youth to document and share personal experiences related to reincarnation, just like Doc previously did. But this time around, we focus on youth. to ascertain the way online communities influences African youth's interpretation and reinterpretation of traditional reincarnation beliefs. Again, to determine how technological mediation of reincarnation narratives leads to new belief systems, blending traditional concepts with contemporary digital influences. Technology. Now moving into literature review. Technology can be defined as specifically using what we have to solve the present problem. However, Klein and Finch defined it as the tools, that it includes tools, techniques, and systems created by humans to solve problems, achieve goals, and enhance productivity. It comprises of both tangible artifacts like machine, device, our mobile phone, cameras we are using, the laptops, the computers, and so on. However, it also includes intangible processes, including methods and knowledge systems. Next. Wire tradition, in this case, encapsulates the intersection of traditional cultural beliefs, practices, and narratives with contemporary digital technologies. Most of the times, whenever we talk about traditional cultural beliefs, we always have this perception that it has to deal with truth knowledge. However, what is the role of digital technologies whenever we discuss these topical issues? So the concept of wire tradition here deals with the intersection of these traditional cultural beliefs, practices, and narratives with the contemporary digital technologies, particularly with focus with the African youth culture. But in this student, focus on Igbo youth culture. Reincarnation, there's no need for much interpretation, however, or conceptualization. However, the key concept here is the karma, which is action in one's current life, which shapes the future destinies across successive lifetime. Hence, the life you live now will somehow determine the next life you will live. Hence, if you are a bad person, there's high propensity or probability that you would live or have a hard life or hard time in your next reincarnation. There is even the possibility that you may not even reincarnate again. Again, there are variations towards the idea of reincarnation, as different traditions emphasize either the purification of the soul through multiple lifetimes or the attainment of spiritual liberation or the union with the divine. So African youth culture can be defined as that which encompasses the diverse practices, beliefs, values, and expressions of young people across Africa. The characteristics of this is seen with focus on the millennials, Gen Zs, and subsequently Gen Alphas, where we see local traditions, global influences, technological advancements, and social dynamics actually influencing these people within this age range. However, there is the multifaceted expression, which includes the music, dance, fashion, language, art, literature, and what have you, as means of identity construction and self-expression. Hence, in this present time, we can see that the form or the system of music used by people who were born in the 1980s or somehow the 1990s is practically different from what we have now. Now, for the purpose of this study, I used the two particular theories: media ecology theory, which was developed by Marshall Luhan, a Canadian philosopher of communication theory, in his seminal work, Understanding Media, the Extension of Man, done in the year 1964. However, this theory holds that the medium is the message, in the sense that the media technology characteristics and effects are much more significant than the content. It emphasizes the transformative influence of media on the human perception, cognition, and social organization. What it simply means is that the ideology of the media is the most important thing, the most focus, what should actually be the focus, not even the content. Hence, if the personal bias of the media greatly influences the content, hence the perception or the personal idiosyncrasies of the media comes first before the content. Hence, it is much more important than the content. However, McLuhan also coined the term global village, which we basically hear in this present time, which describes the interconnectedness of humanity facilitated by electronic media. Hence, an application to this study, it inquires into the influence of transmission, influences of transmission and reception of reincarnation narratives. Sorry. It inquires into the implication or influence of communication technologies such as internet and social media, how it influences the transmission and reception of reincarnation narratives within Igbo youth culture. It also provides insight on how advancements in technology shapes the cultural landscape and impact the transmission of cultural narratives such as reincarnation beliefs among Igbo youths. Another theory employed in the study of this, or in this study, is the cultural transmission theory, which can also be, which is also known as the theory of cultural evolution. It's also it's a multidisciplinary framework with the contributions from anthropology, sociology, psychology, and evolutionary biology. Here, it emphasizes that cultural traits vary within and across populations due to geographic, social, and historical influence. Hence, the idea of people from Abakaliki or Ifo will be specifically different from that of people from Imo. It also views selection, that cultural traits are selected for or against based on adaptive values, societal relevance, and compatibility with existing norms. It focuses on transmission too, as these cultural traits are passed down through imitation, social learning, and communication. However, as it concerns this study, it seeks to examine how beliefs and practices are transmitted, adapted, integrated into contemporary cultural context. The theory helps to illustrate the role of technological advancement in shaping the historical trajectory of reincarnation narratives among Igbo youths. It also seeks to provide insights into the mechanism through which reincarnation narratives are transmitted, modified within this Igbo youth culture. Okay. So the methodology applied for this study was the qualitative methodology, utilizing descriptive analysis to explore these topics. Data was collected from the primary sources, including semi-structured and unstructured interviews. Additionally, secondary and tertiary sources were all such as journals, research papers, internet resources, and magazines were used to support this analysis. Now, moving into discussions. While we do not have time, I will try to give a kind of summary of what is here. Why are traditions in Igbo youth culture? We should recognize that Igbo society has a rich spiritual traditions, including beliefs in reincarnation, passed down through oral traditions specifically, and cultural practices. These are seen through the storytelling, communal rituals, ceremonies, and what have you. However, technology has greatly influenced this. Technologies like smartphones, social media, internet are transforming the transmission process of these beliefs. We can see a situation whereby I am a view from Imo, but my perception about these cultures or traditions as an implication of the media or content which are being put out from a man from Anambra State. So it is the role of technology actually is affecting how we perceive or how these cultures are being transmitted from one point to the other. However, as I said, pre-colonially, historical context or oral or cultures were transmitted through primary mode, which is what we call oral traditions. However, in the modern times, we have technology. We have technology, which has greatly influenced this whole process. So presently, we do not base on oral traditions. We base on what we consume from the media. We base from what we see from the social media. Hence, whatever the youth of this present time believe social reincarnation narrative, for example, to be, is basically most of the times not as a result of what it may truly be from as regards their culture, but from what they have consumed from the media. Now, there are advantages of this digital platform, which includes accessibility. Hence, anyone can actually access these informations, preservation and transmission of knowledge, archival preservation, and community. Go down to conclusion. So conclusively, because of want of time, this study highlights how
I think your time is fast spent, so that we'll have time for discussions, please. Thank you. Thank you. If you allow this young man, I'm telling you, he's going to stay here and be talking to 12 noon or to 1 p.m. Thank you very much, Nadozie, for your presentation.
Well done.
Yeah, I think at this point we'll just use the remaining time to see if there are questions and contributions towards the papers that were presented, please.
Comments,
Comments, please.
questions.
Reactions, disagreements.
First question. Do you have a question? Okay.
My question to the last I don't see attempt to give us an idea of
Sir, can you hear the question?
I can't hear him, and he's not audible enough.
No. So we are so sorry, we have a glitch with can you please come here?
USB.
Okay. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, clearly. Thank you.
Okay, good. Well, just to keep it short, the question is, what exactly is that perception of the youth understanding of reincarnation due to the proliferation of such concepts based on the age of internet revolution? Again, I also want to inquire when at the point in time you said from oral tradition to digital age.
USB.
Now thinking, if you are talking about the transmission, the knowledge passage of that tradition, or that culture of reincarnation, will it be proper if it is from oral tradition to digital transmission instead of digital age? Digital age itself is an era, but we are talking about oral tradition is an activity that happened within an era. So digital, from oral tradition to digital transmission. I think that would be it. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ohiomeru. I want to ask this question because of the last speaker's presentation. But my question also goes to other presenters. I don't know if the last presenter has seen this book by Shoshana Zuboff, The Age of Surveillance Capitalism. I think you really need to do some study of that book so that it will enrich your work. I say that to say that the African genetics of reincarnation, first proposed by the poems of Pepe Clark and Soyinka, they actually delve into the spiritual dynamics of African culture. So if you're looking at technology, which actually is a Western techno kind of intelligence, it's a kind of it's a look-alike, because reincarnation itself, it portrays the look-alike. It carries that look-alike posture. You know, a spirit it's only known by its pattern, by the way it operates. It has no gender. Spirit has no gender. Now, what technology will do is that it will produce something that looks like, and that will take us to what we call robotics. So robots are like the incarnates, the techno-incarnates of humans. So that's how I would suggest that this research would go. So when you use the word wire transmission, it strikes my mind like the African cultural genetics of reincarnation. So I don't know how you are going to blend those two together. And the theory that you are using, I don't know. I've not read them, so I cannot make any judgment about that. But I think you really need to do some work on that book by Yuboff. It will really help your work, because I see that even surveillance itself is a kind of techno complex. It's a kind of complex we have of keeping watch over certain people. The same thing that spirit we do to any culture. If a spirit is reincarnating, it's a spiritual complex of keeping surveillance on that family or a particular sacrifice or an activity. So you see, robotics and reincarnation, they go pari passu. So I don't know how you're going to do that. So that's just my. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for that contribution. Any other question?
It's not really a question, but let me just say something. Okay, good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Mine is actually on your presentation. I actually enjoyed your presentation, to be sincere. But at a point, you made mention of the fact that reincarnation is an African thing. And as soon as you said that, I remember the film Coco. I don't know if you have seen it. Animation. Yes, the animation, Coco. Yes. And you know, it was the context of that film is Mexico. And of course, this is.
I didn't get you because there was cut off on that communication. You can just repeat the last lines, please. Thank you.
Okay, I said, have you bothered to find out if this reincarnation thing is it really just an African thing, considering that movie? Because you know, movies are actually project the society. Okay, and looking at that film, it was shot using the Mexican culture, Mexico. So have you bothered to find out? Because I don't believe reincarnation is just an African thing. Thank you. Please come here.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
One more comment. I want to stand on the shoulders of the last speaker to also re-emphasize your claim of reincarnation as an African thing. What about the Indians that have it as their core culture, which is central to their religion? Reincarnation is a central part of Hinduism. So when you now lay a claim that it's an African thing, it got me worried. And my last speaker also is raising that kind of fears. So please, I want you to see how you can resolve the contradictions, please. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for your interventions. I really enjoyed them. Let me start from the last speaker. Please, if that is the understanding, the focus of this paper is on Africa. You see, I did explain for a fact that most of what we have is people trying. Can you hear me, please?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, most of what we have sometimes is a kind of competition between African cultural understanding and other world religions. And I remember I did say that even in Christianity, that we have people who say they don't believe in reincarnation, that Christ himself was also an incarnate of God that came in the form of man. Man does not die. He believes strongly in that, because my focus mainly is on Africa. If you look at the Americans, for instance, once a man dies, he is buried, and all you need to do is to present a flower, and then the family forgets that he's dead, and then he moves on. The Indians, yes, strongly, I believe, they have strong belief in reincarnation. The Mexicans, yes, I believe. For the Coco film you're talking about, I am saying that maybe it's a slip of the tongue that for the African man, reincarnation is sure that the influence of either Western civilization, Western culture, or Western understanding should not deprive our youths from knowing what to have as our African culture. And I did say that part of the mistake most people make in this our generation is using today to judge yesterday, which is a serious issue in historical understanding. I don't know if that has cleared what we understand. It is not purely an African thing. It cuts across cultures, but most of Western societies believe that once a man is dead, he is dead and gone. Once flowers are presented at his graveside, they move on, and then that's it. You know, I've had people say that, or another. Then the person that talked about Dozier's paper, I think what you said is in order, because sometimes we'll talk about oral tradition. Oral tradition is movement from the transfer of information from one generation to the other. Now, saying it now, I don't know how religion would also, how internet has also been able to prevent that. But talking about robotics now, I think that comes in. There's something I want to point out, please, before I stop. It's on the paper of Dr. Mrs. Enwirem. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, there is this conversation on second burial among the Igbo. That thing is a misconception. It's a misconception because this man, J.T. Basden, in his Among the Igbos of Nigeria, has always used that word, second burial. There's nothing like second burial.
We have just 2 minutes. Go.
Yes, yes. One can just talk about burial, and then the other one can talk about any other thing. I don't know. Sorry, I don't know if any person has any contributions.
Yes, Nnadozie answer your question too.
Oh, sorry. Okay, fine.
Thank you very much for your feedback. I will further go into research on that. However, the question on the perception of youth, I didn't quite go into it because of a lot of time. Presently, the core of it still remains the same. Now, one has to die to come back again. However, recently during my research, I found a different variation of this concept, or this concept amongst the youth. There is this belief or claim that one may not really need to die to actually come back again. Two, that there is a system of variable spontaneity where a particular soul can actually exist like 5 times in a row. So out in a particular family, maybe for example, in the case of Dr. Mbalisi, he may be Mbalisi. Then another one of his nephew or cousins will be Mbalisi, another, like 5 of them. This is also another form of perception. However, there is also a perception that says that one can actually reincarnate into a living person while the person is already alive. For example, let's take, okay. So there are variations in this perception. And the core of it, yes, remains the same, that one has to die to actually reincarnate. But the pattern of which you understand it in the present time is completely different or evolving than what we had before. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right.
All right.
Thank you very much. I think you can continue the question after the session, so that you can make more arguments. Not really likes to argue, so please engage him more.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you. We'll see you again tomorrow. We'll see you again.